Shalom and welcome to Practical Spirituality here in the Old City of Jerusalem at Esha Torah overlooking the Temple Mount. So there I was lighting Hanukkah candles to secular groups of Israelis that were coming from all over the country, from the Golan Heights from Eilat and everywhere in between. There were secular groups coming to my Hanukkah lighting where I was being extra friendly and being like a good representative of the Haredi world, making everyone have nice and warm feelings about the Jewish people, about Hanukkah lighting, etc. But what happened was the elderly of my community, where I live in like a fiddler on the roof shtetl in the middle of Jerusalem, the elderly of the community were really excited about this, and they felt that this was the best way you could possibly the best way to publicize the miracle of Hanukkah was having all these secular groups come right to your door and enjoy the Hanukkah lighting and the music and everything, and I'd play guitar for them and speak to them. Anyway, but the younger generation, who are like the real Haredi people, they were really not happy with these groups, and they would call them Greeks. They would yell at them. They would call them Mityavnim, which is Hellenized Jews. They would yell at the groups coming to our neighborhood that they were Hellenized Jews. They were Mityavnim, and they were even throwing water balloons on them, and the kids were getting into it because the parents were into it. The parents were getting aggressive, and the kids were getting aggressive. And I was feeling this insane stress over this whole thing because it seems so natural to me that if people are going to come, you might as well reach out to them and be nice. But why would you be mean to them? And so I was really torn. And I was torn also in deeper ways because these people, the secular Israelis who were coming, shared my background because I wasn't raised observant. So it was like they were throwing water balloons on me. And so, or at least on my family or on my friends I grew up with. You understand? But meanwhile, do I stick up for these people and still give them a nice Hanukkah? Because I don't live with these people. They're just on a tour. They're paying for some tour that the tour guide is capitalizing on our community and on me. And they're going to all go back to their hometowns while I'm going to deal with, I live with my neighbors. Like we really live together. And so here I am like upsetting my neighbors by being friendly to these people. So what would you do? Well, I decided to speak to my Rebbe. So I went to the Rav Noach Weinberg and I spoke it out with him and I asked him, what am I supposed to do? Should I be with them, these people, or should I be with them, with my neighbors? Which side do I go on? And you know what he did? He did something that only he can do. He sits up high in his chair, his kippah kind of comes up like that, and he looks really angry and it's super scary. But I'd pay $1 million to have it happen again because he passed away 10 years ago on this day. But Rav Noach Weinberg pointed at me like this, and he says, "It's your fault." I just wasn't expecting that. And I said, "What's my fault?" He says, "It's your fault, Yom Tov." And I said, "Why is it my fault?" He said, how is it possible that Yom Tov Glaser lives for 15 years in a community and they don't understand how important outreach is? What are you doing over there? What are you playing, whack-a-mole? You know what whack-a-mole is? You know what whack-a-mole is? Anyone here doesn't know what whack-a-mole is? You also know what whack-a-mole is. You just don't know it was called that. In front of like shopping centers and supermarkets, they have games for kids to play outside. So it's got holes and the thing pops its head up and you have to bang it and it disappears and you got to get it in the next one, and every time you bang it, you get a point.
Whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole. So, what are you playing, whack-a-mole? Asked the Rosh Yeshiva. I mean, are you just hiding from your neighborhood? You're not sharing with them the importance of outreach? And I knew once again he's right. I mean, he just had this way of seeing things. He could dissect a situation and get the issue like that, and he did. And so I said, you're right. You're right. I have not said anything about outreach in my community ever. I just don't feel in position to do that. You know, I'm in a very like ancient 200-year-old community of people who are connected to Torah from time immemorial. And who am I to walk in from, you know, a BT from Los Angeles and start telling them how important something is? But I took the lesson, and Hanukkah ended, but I knew that I would have to do something by next Hanukkah. So the following Hanukkah, I took care of the issue. What I did was I did something very sneaky and a little bit manipulative, but it was worth it for the cause. Is what I did was I first went to one of the fathers, you know, the community is all the fathers of the community. So I went to one of the fathers who was most against these tour groups, and I asked him if he would host a town meeting of all the fathers about this issue of secular groups coming to the shtetl. And so he said he would host it. So my next trick was I went to the biggest rabbi, the most elderly rabbi of the whole community, but the one who's against it, because all the rabbis basically were passing away from the generation that still believed in the Jewish people. So that elderly generation that believes in the Jewish people were kind of gone. So I took the next oldest rabbi who was against the groups. And I told him there, here's where I was a little manipulative. I said, there's a meeting going on. Meanwhile, the only one invited is the host. But I said, there's a meeting going on by all the community about these secular groups coming in. And he says, I'll be there. So once he's there, everyone has to come. Because if his name's on the ballot, everyone's got to come in and vote. So everyone did come in. And they all sat around this table, and I specifically sat myself a little to the right of the head table. And they're all looking around, who's the master of ceremonies here? Which was me. So I finally spoke up, and I said that we're going to have the rabbi speak, and then we're going to go around the table, and everyone's going to give their opinions of what they think of the groups. So they just went around one at a time, all the way around the table, speaking against reaching out to these groups. And when it finally got to me, I had been taking notes the whole time, so I knew everyone's points. And I spent 10 minutes refuting every point that anyone made, and then I went on for another half hour to explain the importance of outreach from a Torah perspective, like how many mitzvahs we fulfill from the actual Torah just in reaching out. And some possible compromises I could make in how I'm doing things. Because I was doing it inside the courtyard where we all live, and people just couldn't even get in their doors because there was like literally 500, 600, 700 people in the courtyard. So I could do it on the other side of my house, where it's just on the street side, where there's no cars anyway, and just do it there. So I just want to tell you that was about 10 years ago or more, since the rabbi passed away 10 years ago. So that was, let's say, 12 years ago. This year, my wife and I took a walk around the neighborhood, which we never do, just to see all the Hanukkah lights. And we walked around to see the Hanukkah lights. We found tour groups being spoken to by these same fathers who were sharing about Hanukkah to the tour groups. We found probably about 10 of the houses, we're not a big neighborhood, about 10 of the houses, maybe 8 of the houses, had big signs that they had posted explaining the miracle of Hanukkah to the tour groups that would be walking by. This has already been like 12 years. And, oh, by the way, that year was the end of all problems for the tour groups. But it's gotten to the point now, 12 years later, that the actual community is reaching out to the people. So this class was called It's Your Fault. So it's your fault. Thank you.